Hey everybody, welcome to another podcast. We should have figured out what episode we were on beforehand. Let's refresh here. We are on episode 17. Wow. I did continue the series, and one thing I'd like to mention before we go on, this red, I don't know what that's from, and this specifically, I woke up with this. You can certainly tell my eye is purple. Well, it looks red in the camera angle here, but it is purple indeed. It hurts when I blink. Blink. It definitely hurts a little bit. 182 times. No, it does hurt when I blink. I don't know what it is. Should I get it checked out? Probably. But I'll do that tomorrow if it lingers. So, for now, we're going to live with it. It's purple, pink, red. I don't know what it looks like here, but in person, if you go up to a mirror and pull it down like this, it is purple. Purple and puffy. Let me bring it a little closer. You see it? See it? Let me shine a light, because this camera is only 1080p because it's the Mac. Do you see it? Hey. I don't know. Whatever. It is purple, and it's swollen, so I don't know what it is. So here we are. We're going to read some news stories from Syracuse.com. Let's see. Top stories today. Can you bring a gun to the zoo on a bus? All right. So that's, first of all, not a sentence, because it goes, can you bring a gun to the zoo? ? And then ends the sentence. A question mark would end the sentence. Therefore, starting a new one. And the next sentence is on a bus ? That ain't a sentence. Who's on the bus? What's on the bus? Is something on a bus? Just on a bus ? But, point is, can you bring a gun to the zoo on a bus? Syracuse judge eagerly rewrites New York firearms law. U.S. Judge Glenn Suddababy is at the center of an effort to define gun rights after the U.S. Supreme Court tossed New York's law. Let's click it. Let's see what it is. Advertisements. Good. A Syracuse federal judge has taken a prominent role in the nation's legal battle over gun control after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a century-old New York gun law. U.S. Judge Glenn Suddababy has welcomed a chance to do what the Supreme Court didn't do: make it clear what states like New York are allowed to do to limit guns and where they can be carried. Suddababy tackled this and much more in an ambitious gun rights decision last month. He's written 3 opinions in 3 months on the matter, and gun rights scholars across the nation have noticed what he's doing. Wow, we are a quarter of the way through. Alright, we're not going to skip. We're going to go through, In June, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a 1911 New York law that required a gun applicant to provide a specific reason for needing a handgun. Struck down, meaning, hey, that ain't happening. A 1911 New York law that required a gun applicant. So they needed a specific reason to be needing a gun in 1911. Struck down in 1911. Okay, so this had been in effect since 1911 and just got struck down in June of 2022. So 111 years this thing had been in effect, in essence. Clearly it was... So this is very recent. I think you should still need a reason for needing a handgun, whether it be hunting or self-defense, whatever it might be. I think you should need a reason when you're purchasing one. Just an opinion. The court led by Justice Clarence Thomas threw out that law and greatly expanded the Second Amendment right to carry a gun in public across the nation. Thomas's opinion made it harder for states to ban guns from entire categories of public settings, but it didn't specify the places where states could ban guns. Okay. So his opinion made it harder for states to ban guns for entire categories of public settings. Didn't specify where states could ban guns. Okay. The decision also established a new historical test for judging the constitutionality of gun laws. To survive, a modern law must conform with a similar firearm tradition at the time of muskets and horse-drawn carriages. Okay, if we're gonna... So a modern law must conform or be, similar to when muskets and carriages were in effect. A long time ago. New York lawmakers quickly moved to pass a new law that was even more restrictive, prompting immediate court challenges, which they should, right? Enter ZaCrazy, a Republican former Onondaga County prosecutor and U.S. attorney who was nominated by President George Bush for the federal bench. The judge struck down much of New York's gun law as unconstitutional, which I don't entirely know the gun law, so I'm just reading here. ZaCrazy painstakingly put to work Thomas's historical test to decide the fitness of New York gun bans in dozens of locations. Thomas's historical test meaning the 1911, when muskets and drawn carriages were a thing. For example, a state can ban guns from a school and playground, but not a park. What about a zoo? New York State should be able to ban guns from wherever they like, personally. Guns may be banned on a local bus, but what about a Greyhound bus? ZaCrazy found the answer in the age before the invention of the car. So, personally, I think, as bad as it is, maybe there should be somebody with a firearm in pretty much every setting publicly. Like a school bus, right? With kids. Guns, scary, right? But you need to go through specific training. You can't have any history on your record. You can't have a felony. You can't have a misdemeanor. Any run-in with the law, sure, you can get pulled over for a speeding ticket or driving without a seatbelt or on the phone. Little things like that, sure. But if you have a felony or misdemeanor, like breaking and entering or killing somebody or shooting somebody, right? Anything like that, you shouldn't be able to have a gun. But there should be, obviously, there's cameras on buses now. When I was in school, there were not cameras on buses. Nothing I ever rode had a camera on it. But right when you walk in, I don't believe there should be metal detectors in schools. There's got to be some sense of freedom. You can't just expect everybody to have a gun and everybody to be patted down when they walk into school. It's just not. Maybe in the future it'll be realistic, but it's not fun for kids. I don't want to go to school like that. Heck, I don't even want to go to school with law enforcement there. It's just stupid that we even have to do that. But, there's got to be a line drawn somewhere, and that line, I guess, should be with someone with a firearm in all public settings. Like a school, when you walk in the main doors, there should be a police officer or two or a bodyguard or someone with a gun just at all times. And if someone comes in with a huge duffel bag, then you search something like that. But if they're just with backpacks, no, you're not going to be carrying an assault rifle. You might have a pistol or something, but an assault rifle, you ain't carrying that in a backpack, a school backpack. On a bus, there's always a driver and a student teacher, a student aide, bus driver's aide that sits in the front seat and monitors the kids. Right, for fights or throwing stuff or being loud, rambunctious. There should be a police officer, someone with a gun or taser who is trained and ready and doesn't have felony on their record. Anyway, back to the article here. What about conference centers or movie theaters? Yeah, as I said, there should be. The judge looked to 18th century meat markets and ballrooms. Can New York require an applicant? Put that in an audiobook. Can New York require an applicant for gun permit to provide his social media accounts? Let's see. Can New York require an applicant for a gun permit to provide his social media accounts? Okay. If you're posting guns and terrorist groups and just bad events like that, yeah. But you look great and you never have any felonies, the answer could lie there, correct? So I'd say yeah, access to those social media accounts. Not like here's my password, but make it public for them to see, sure. Sotheby invoked Alexander Hamilton's death in a famed duel with Aaron Burr in 1804 to reason that you don't have to provide your Facebook account. And so on for 184 pages. Well, I don't exactly know what that duel is. Gosh, I'm tired. The Supreme Court decision left it to lawmakers and local judges like Sotheby to review and rewrite state laws that may no longer be constitutional. Legal experts expressed sympathy for a judge asked to reach back a century or more to research the historic precedent for carrying guns in dozens of public settings. They also noted Sotheby's clear opposition to New York's law from the start, and the zeal that he brought to finding centuries-old evidence to decide modern-day gun law. Eric Rubin, a law professor at Southern Methodist University, Dedman School of Law, said the Supreme Court left unanswered how judges like Sotheby are to analyze history. Quote, that is not my text tone. What the flip? Okay. It was a dislike. Quote, he's making it up on the fly, and he's not the only judge making it up on the fly, Rubin said. Rulings all over the map. Sotheby's rulings are among the first to analyze the June Supreme Court decision. Yawning is a natural. New York Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin, which overturned a century of gun control. Under Bruin, the government may no longer balance an individual's gun rights with modern-day public safety concerns. Instead, Thomas's ruling found that laws must be grounded solely in the historical tradition of firearms regulation, especially that of 1971 and 1868, when the Second and 14th Amendments were passed. Based on that, Sotheby struck down New York's gun bans at a host of places. From movie theaters to churches, New York tried to create a default ban to prohibit guns from private property unless the property owner provides consent, which it should be, right? Sotheby tossed that. So too, a ban at establishments that serve alcohol. He also threw out the social media disclosure mandate, among other provisions. Serve alcohol, maybe you think it should be more because they're drunk and disorderly. For now, the state law remains largely in place after an appellate court ordered Sotheby's decision stayed. At least a dozen judges across the country, including...
Motion detected at your front door.
Thank you. Including a handful in New York, are wrestling in the same issues that left by Bruin. So there's no consensus yet on the way forward. Quote, we're seeing judges all over the map, end quote, said Andrew Willinger, executive director of the Duke Center for Firearms Law. Quote, Bruin is a real departure from how courts have considered constitutional challenges. It's very new, and there isn't a ton of guidance, end quote. Aaron Burr and Quanon, a gun rights group lawsuit, asked Sotheby, 66, a Glen Falls native and Syracuse University Law School graduate, to reject the state's requirement that gun applicants reveal their social media accounts. It was perhaps the most tortured historical test of them all, finding something equivalent to Facebook around the time of the country's founding or immediate aftermath of the Civil War. The state likened the social media requirement to a background check, permissible to confirm the applicant is not a danger to public safety, which is something I had mentioned, it's good. ZaCrazy rejected this, noting no other background checks require a social media disclosure. He cast around for comparisons from the 18th or 19th century. In those eras, were gun applicants required to submit any pseudonyms that they used? Not sure what pseudonym is, so I'm going to educate myself here and look up pseudonyms. Continue. A pseudonym or alias is a fictitious name. Okay, like a fictitious name. Pseudonym. See, now I know. And I'll always know. He spent the time searching for clues in the volatile political climate around the time of the country's founding, including the fatal duel between Vice President Aaron Burr and Hamilton, one of the founding fathers. Was the Discord or 4chan around 1791, sorry. People published opinions under pseudonyms, ZaCrazy wrote. What back then? Oh, I just skipped because of an ad. Gosh. What was like Discord or 4chan around 1791? People published opinions under pseudonyms. What back then was like today's mass shootings? The fact that no laws were passed in the 18th century compelling dueling adversaries to identify their pseudonyms led the judge to conclude that there was no bias today to require social media disclosure. No basis. He acknowledged the flaws with those comparisons, writing, quote, "The problems of anonymously posted threads of physical violence to others and horrific mass shootings have certainly increased since the turn of the 21st century," end quote. But the judge wrote, the social media requirement could also run afoul of an applicant's free speech rights. After all, Thomas warned that the Second Amendment was not second class to other constitutional rights. ZaCrazy looked to bring levity to this point. What if an officer reviewing gun permit application did not like someone's social media handle, such as I love guns or bullets and kittens? ZaCrazy wrote, Would that protected speech prevent a law-abiding citizen from getting a gun? Most likely would. And on it went through modern life and guns. What about airports or movie theaters? Again, he ruled, no historical tradition from the horse and buggy days provided constitutional grounds to ban guns. Another Second Amendment scholar, Jake Charles of Pepperdine University in California, said the Supreme Court decision left legislatures and judges in the lurch. Quote, "The test that Bruin set up is unworkable in practice," end quote. Charles said, quote, "It doesn't give clear guidelines to state officials or state legislatures. What do you need to pass constitutional laws? How do judges do this?" End quote. Just the judge say so. The plaintiffs in the case before ZaCrazy represent a collection of examples of these locations where New York banned guns. A man who wanted to carry a concealed gun while taking his wife to see the wolves at the Rosemont Gifford Zoo. A fisherman who wanted to carry his gun on the banks of the Seneca River at Mercer Park in Baldwinsville. An Oswego County pastor at the Fellowship Baptist Church and Parish who wants to protect his flock during service. In each case, ZaCrazy ruled that the government had infringed upon their Second Amendment rights, which I believe is the right to carry arms. I'm no political man, but I do believe that is the case. In the process, ZaCrazy dissected the difference between a zoo, a playground, and a park. He found a nuance between a library and a school, and he wrestled with the difference between a city bus versus a long-haul bus. ZaCrazy ruled that guns could be banned on playgrounds, but not zoos or parks. So I don't personally get that, because parks could be banned on playgrounds, where kids and such play, right? Zoos, kids will be there. Parks, kids will be there. A park is sort of like a playground, but on a much bigger scale with different places with a lot of grass, and there could be a playground on a park. For this, he looked to historical laws banning guns in schools and other places where children gathered for education. Man, my eye hurts, man. Playgrounds were similar to schools, Studebaby reasoned, so no guns, he ruled. Were parks? No, bring your gun. And finally, were zoos more like playgrounds or parks? A zoo is like a park, the judge concluded. Adults more commonly frequent zoos without children than they frequent playgrounds without children, he argued. I would agree with that. Adults commonly frequent zoos without children more than they would with a playground. Correct. Adults just don't go to a playground. I mean, me personally, I do, because I don't have a kid. He also guessed that throughout history, visitors to early zoos might have carried guns out of fear of dangerous creatures breaking loose. Sure, maybe. New York cannot ban guns from zoos. That was the decision. Such reasonings by Studebaby baffled the Second Amendment experts. Quote, the judge concludes, based on gun instinct, that zoos are more like parks than playgrounds, end quote. Said Rubin, also a fellow at the Brennan Center for Justice. Quote, the choice is not demanded by history. That's just the judge's say-so, end quote. As for libraries, Studebaby sidestepped that question, ruling none of the plaintiffs had the legal standing to sue over that part of the gun ban. But in a lengthy footnote, the judge still offered his non-binding opinion. Libraries were not like schools, and the state can't ban guns there. Right. The state, the law, and I believe it is still upheld today, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I don't think people should be allowed fully automatic guns in any sense. Military, I guess that's different because there's different laws in different countries. Military personnel should be allowed to have automatic weapons. Correct. If you're ex-military, gets taken away. You don't need it. Being ex-cop, ex-military, absolutely not. But if you're active duty military, you should absolutely be able to have that to protect your country, to have whatever wars are going on. I don't know much about military, but you should be able to have all the weapons you need to fight against the other countries, right? As a police officer, you don't need, again, you don't need that. You need a pistol, you need a taser, handcuffs, pepper spray maybe, a security camera that's always recording, being streamed back to wherever. Whatever, we're talking about guns here. A pistol by an officer or security, right, a pistol. You don't need an assault rifle unless you're military. And I'll always stand by that. Studebaby ruled that the ban on guns in public transportation had to be struck down because it did not differentiate, among other things, between a city bus and a long-haul bus. Historically, the judge ruled travelers on a long journey, especially out of the state, were granted a greater right to carry a gun in self-defense than someone commuting inside their own town. We're a little over halfway. And we are, 24 minutes in? Okay. Guns in churches? First no, then yes. Studebaby's opinion joins others across the country grappling with the new historical standard for renewing the Second Amendment gun rights. Another ruling was made recently by U.S. District Judge John Sinatra in Buffalo, striking down the ban on guns in places of worship. In that ruling, Sinatra opined, O-P-I-N-E-D. I'm going to see what that means. I'm going to guess maybe goes against. opined, hold and state as one's opinion. Okay. Sinatra opined, or opinionated, stated his opinion, that 6 laws from the late 19th century regulating gun laws in churches did not constitute a historical tradition. Sinatra ruled that a tradition required more than 6 laws, and those laws had to be closer to the Second Amendment's passage in 1791. By comparison, Sotheby had previously ruled that 3 historical laws were enough to form a tradition. By that standard, the Syracuse's judge had previously ruled the gun ban in churches as constitutional. Following Sinatra's ruling, however, Sotheby changed his criteria. Now 3 laws were not enough. Instead, the laws had to govern at least 15% of the country's population, either around 1791 or 1868. In addition, laws in Western territories and local municipalities. I've heard the word, I don't quite know what it means offhand. A municipality is a city or town that has corporate status and local government. Okay. In addition, laws in Western territories and local municipalities were discounted in favor of recognized states at the time. Rubin pointed to Sotheby's evolution of thinking as proof, the folly of the real-life interpretation of Bruin decision. Quote, why 3 states? Why 15%? It's just unclear, end quote, Rubin said. What's next? Sotheby, Sinatra, and other judges are only beginning what will be a long-time legal process that may end up back in front of Thomas and the rest of the Supreme Court. Enoch Pratt, Senior Vice President of Gun Owners in America, is counting down the days until Thomas can, in Pratt's word, quote, slap down, end quote, New York's laws once again. For now, the Second Circuit Court of the U.S. Court of Appeals is collecting decisions from trial judges, but expect more rulings, each with an individual judge's own historical test to make their way to the Appellate Court. I have to meet that, which covers New York, Connecticut, and Vermont. It could be a year or more before the Second Circuit comes up with its own criteria, Rubin suggested. The nation's 11 other appellate courts may be asked to grapple with Bruin. Charles, the legal expert from Pepperdine University, said the higher courts need to get clear standards. Quote, if you're an appellate judge, what's really needed is some kind of uniform standard, end quote, Charles said. Quote, even if I think the Bruin test is hard to work in practice, the real problem is that it's generating inconsistent and unpredictable conclusions, end quote. Both Rubin and Charles agree that Sotheby's first shot at creating the Second Amendment standard will have influence, end quote. Other judges are going to have to respond to Sotheby's arguments, end quote. Charles said, quote, they're going to have to wrestle with it, end quote. And that was it. What do I think? Let's see what the title was called again. Can you bring a gun to the zoo on a bus? Syracuse's judge eagerly rewrites New York's firearm laws. Okay. This was published today at 10:04 a.m., which was 2 hours ago exactly. It is 12:04. It is December 1st. Merry Christmas. Let's see how my eye's doing. Maybe I'm gonna have to go to work like that. My opinion on the matter. Can you bring a gun to the zoo? No. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say there are security in each department. The penguin aquarium, the lion exhibit, the panther exhibit. Every station there's somebody with a gun. The zoo has millions of dollars, correct? You're either updating the facilities for those animals or paying your workers. That's about it. Buying the food, right, for the animals. So, can you bring a gun to the zoo? I say no. I think you need security, and the same goes for the bus. You cannot bring a gun. You should not be allowed to carry a firearm, which, again, is going against the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I don't think you should have the right to bear arms. I think hunting should be illegal. I do. Again, it's a form of population control. But not evolution. What's it called? The cycle of life. Right. The lion eats, what do they eat? I don't know. We'll say the cat gets the mouse. That decreases the mouse population. What gets the cat? Whatever gets the cat, a bird, maybe an eagle. What gets the eagle, right? It's the population or circle of life. And population control. Sure, I believe hospitals and places like that do populate or control the population. Oh, this person's elderly. We're gonna, whatever they might do to not extend their life. Most people are good. They are. Most people are good. But the government does some shady stuff. So, I believe we should not have the right to bear arms, no matter how bad that might be. Let's see. Should we have the right to bear arms? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. How many people believe in the right to bear arms? Let's see. Okay. Here's a poll from some news station, kcrg.org. Survey on the Second Amendment. Okay. Republican or Democrat, they put the percentages here, which doesn't matter to me. But 95% was Republican. Wait. Okay. Grinnell National Poll. 81% found it very/somewhat important to keep the right to bear arms. And 95% were Republican and 63% were Democrat. I don't quite understand those percentages. Let's see though. More than half of Americans say they believe the right to bear arms is important. Let's see. According to the latest Grinnell National Poll, which was April 9th of last year, so it's about a year and a half ago, 81% of Americans say the Second Amendment is very or somewhat important. Between parties, 95% of Republicans say the amendment is important, but only 63% of Democrats say it's important. I am not political. I don't follow a Republican, Democrat, whatever. And I don't even think they should exist. You are what you believe. You don't need to be separated into categories. You vote for who you vote for. If it's Republican, it's Republican. You're not going to believe everything a Republican says. You're not going to believe everything a Democrat says. It's just stupid. So anyone who's 100% Republican, you're just stupid. Anyone who's 100% Democrat, you're just stupid. You're not going to believe that. You're going to disagree with something. So just everyone should just be independent. Believe what you believe. I'm not infringing on what you believe, but why other parties? Again. So it seems as though the majority of Americans believe that the right to bear arms is important. And I'm sure that hasn't changed much from last year to this year. So I'm in the minority of the believing, I guess, which I don't mind. Let me explain to you why I don't believe we should have the right to bear arms. Again, it causes violence. There's a con. There are murders every day. There are robbing, shooting, stabbings. There's crime every day, right? But Zach, if you ban guns, they're just going to use something else. It's harder to kill someone with a knife than it is a gun, right? Because you have to get close to them. You could throw a knife at them, sure, but what are the odds that the back of it's going to hit you versus this ain't Call of Duty. It's not going to hit every time. They'll just switch to something else, strangling or this, or make guns. People will make guns, right? But if you find out that they have a gun, Like, say you commit a crime. But let's pretend guns are banned forever. Done. Besides your military or police force. Again, like I said, police should have pistols, military should have assault rifles and machine guns, whatever. Whatever you gotta have. Guns are banned. Pretend. Someone makes a gun. 3D printer, right? You make a gun, make the bullets. You're found out, done. You are in jail, done. How long? That'd be up to whoever. But there's my argument. Another instance, right? They're gonna make them anyways, just like with abortion. You ban abortions, people are going to have them anyway. Give people the choice. You can't have an abortion once the baby has a heartbeat. How about that? I guess I believe with this is turning into a controversial podcast. After I'm just reading this, abortion, right? Let's see what the majority, instead of what do the majority of people believe with abortion. Let's see. I spelled it Boertogn. And they knew. Public opinion on abortion. Pew Research Center. I've heard of that. Views on abortion 1995 to 2022. This was released May 17th of 2022. Okay. U.S. adults who say abortion should be legal/illegal. Legal in all/most cases is blue, and illegal in all/most cases is white. So, let's see in 2022. Most people in 2022 believe that in every year from 1995 to 2022. So that is 27 years. 27 years straight. Most people believe that abortion should be legal, meaning you can do it. It was pretty close in 2009, where it was very close. But currently, 61% say abortion should be legal. So, I'm going to say I'm with that 61%. But up to a certain point. You cannot abort the baby once it has a heartbeat. Let's say, Zach, what if you don't know you're pregnant until the baby has a heartbeat? Well, I guess I'll say that's up to your own stupidity. Let me see when a baby has a heartbeat. Let me see if I'll change that opinion. When does a baby have a heartbeat? Okay. A fetus has a heartbeat 5 to 6 weeks. So right around the 5.5 week mark. So that's a month. That's a little over a month. Because 4.5 weeks would be a month, right? Yeah, 4.5 weeks is a month. If it has 31 days. So, a month and a week. Should you know that you're pregnant by that time? Most likely, yes. In some cases, sure, people don't know. But have the kid and give it up at that point. Let's see. Let me look up how many people don't realize they are pregnant. Let's see. Okay, here's something from arnish.org. ANSIRH.org. Although at-home pregnancy tests are commonly used, this study shows that many people still experience delays when confirming a suspected pregnancy. As a result, 1 in 3 people confirm their pregnancies past 6 weeks, which is past the heartbeat. Let's see. When does a baby have a functioning brain. When do they develop a brain? Week 5, or right around the same way. Okay, so we'll stick with the heartbeat. So they said, although at-home pregnancy tests are commonly used, they still experience delays when confirming. So they suspect. I'm going to stick with that. You're doing it with somebody, right? Unprotected, protected. You're protected, but you obviously run the risk, the 1% risk, whatever it is. I'm going to stay with the law that you can have an abortion, correct, up until the heartbeat. So 5.5 weeks, that's, again, maybe they should push it to 6 weeks just to confirm heartbeat. 6 weeks I feel is enough time to realize if you're sick or having any symptoms. I get some people don't have symptoms, but abortion is tough. I don't think they should ban it entirely. Absolutely not, because people are going to do it anyway, right? But it should be medically allowed up until week 6. That's my opinion there. But back to the firearms. Why were we talking about abortion? Why were we talking about abortion? We were reading this article. Again, 81% of people from this article believe that you should not be allowed, or that you should be allowed to bear arms, that you should keep the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Me, I don't. It just causes more harm than good. Prisons, they're too nice. You shouldn't be... Sure, you should be allowed to walk out of the... It's tough. You hate seeing people suffer. You look in jail at someone suffering, sitting there in a cell, but then you realize what they did. They murdered someone, or they stabbed someone 20 times, but they lived. A judge is tough determining the length of a sentence, guilty, non-guilty. You're always going to have someone mad at you for any decision you make. But referring to, can you bring a gun? No. I don't think you should have a gun. Nobody in this world, I guess in this country, we can't pick the world, but nobody in the world should be allowed to have a gun unless you're military or police force. I'm trying to think of anyone else that would need it. No. To protect you are the armed forces and police officers. Police officers, pistol, taser, handcuffs, pepper spray. But should knives be banned? I believe they are up to a certain point. They can't be bigger than your hand or something. It can't be a switchblade or hidden. They can't pop out. I don't know those laws. Maybe for another episode, because we are 45 minutes into this episode. 43, sorry. But, again, no, I don't think you should be able to have guns. Let's see how long it said this read was. I don't know. Is there anything else? Let's see. Ask Amy. An in-law's unfiltered comment leaves a mark. Okay, this is very short. We're going to read it. This is under Living, November 30th, yesterday at 6:15 a.m. So 30 hours ago, 30 hours and 2 minutes. Ask Amy, an in-law's unfiltered comment leaves a mark. Dear Amy, I am shocked and hurt by comments my brother-in-law made to me during the recent, otherwise wonderful trip my husband and I took with him and my sister. He is the most physically healthy of all of us, but perhaps he is losing his filters, as we aging people sometimes do. We live in separate states and have traveled extensively as couples over the last 15 years, usually twice a year. Both couples have been married for 50 years. We have a great time together. I thought we always enjoyed each other's company. My sister and I are best friends. At the end of our most recent trip, outside of others' hearing, my brother-in-law insisted that I had married the wrong person. I was shocked, denied this, but was too taken aback to ask why he had thought this. I love my husband. He was wonderful, loving, kind, and a generous man. He would be extremely hurt by this comment since he believes that the two men have developed a close friendship over more than 50 years. I would too be hurt if my best friend had told my wife that she married the wrong man, and I've been friends with him for 50 years. I don't know what to say to my husband and sister. This is Amy speaking. I have been obsessing, perhaps grieving over this comment. I wonder if we should stop traveling together, though this would be very painful for at least 3 of us. What do you think about this? Should I say or do? Or what should I say or do? Saddened and hurt. Dear Saddened, the first thing you should do is examine why this comment has caused you grief so deeply. My perspective is that many very happily married people are hitched to partners who deem the others wrong. Confronted with this unsolicited opinion after 50 years of happy marriage might inspire you more toward laughter than grief. Your brother-in-law is wrong, and you took the opportunity in the moment to tell him so. Good for you. You have a burning desire to learn why he said this, but ask yourself, what good would it do to hear a recitation of your husband's unsuitability? Keep in mind, too, that this comment does not mean that your brother-in-law doesn't like your husband, just that in his flawed and possibly fleeting opinion, you should have married someone else. I think you should chalk this moment up to an elder person's lowered filter. Is it possible that he is carrying a torch for you? Taking into account all of the variables, if you still feel compelled to ask about this, do so. Not through your sister. There is some likelihood that he will either deny or will not remember having made the comment that has caused you so much angst. Dear Amy, I've included a family Christmas letter along with my Christmas cards for over 30 years now. This is fun, and it is something I like to do. My husband and I are divorcing this year after 40 years of marriage. Should I even briefly mention this in my letter? Christmas is a time of hope and celebration. Many people who receive my cards only hear from me once a year, so I honestly don't know if I should address this. Thank you for your insight. Sad news. Dear Sad News, yes, Christmas is a time of hope and celebration. But Christmas letters are also often chronicles of a family's traditions and passages. There is no one way to compose of these annual holiday letters, but my favorites are those that include a photo or two, as well as a brief rundown of the family's year, including births, deaths, graduations, job transitions, and acknowledgments of challenges, as well as joyful times. If you choose to disclose the breakup of your very long marriage in this letter, you might expect to hear back from some of these once-a-year correspondents, expressing their interest or concern. Do you want to hear from them? And will you be disappointed if you don't? If you choose to include this item, you might write something like, "Some sad news here, as Jim and I are divorcing after 4 decades of marriage. This is a bittersweet time for our family, but we are moving forward with as much grace as possible." Dear Amy, oh, that question from Unsure Mom really brought back some unpleasant memories for me. Like Unsure, my mother often told me how much better I would look wearing makeup. I know she meant to be encouraging. Unfortunately, her words had the opposite effect. Makeup free. Dear Free, I hope this sort of pressure is a thing from the past. So this is a wholesome letter. I guess Ask Amy. this is all geared towards Amy and whatnot. So the first one, the unhinged brother-in-law. I guess, again, as you get older, you feel more unhinged. Ow, my eye. And willing to just say it how it is. I feel I've always been that. It is how it is. Both couples have been married for 50 years. Wow. And they've been traveling together. What should I say or do? I believe you should bring up the comment. Actually, I'm going to say no. You leave the comment as it was because, again, like it said, he might not hate you. He might not be upset with you. He's just stating how he believes you two are wrong for each other. Next, saddened. The family Christmas letter for over 30 years, Ralph. The divorce of your husband of over 40 years. Should you mention it in your letter? Absolutely. I think you absolutely should. As for the unsure mom with the makeup, mothers tend to say things incorrectly, as they may be unhinged, as in the first one, carefree. I don't personally take, anything with any sort of judgment or anger. I just gleeked. Check out my video, How to Gleek, about 10 years ago. I don't think the mother should have said it like that. If you are leaning towards saying something, I think you should say, hey, Mom, that comment was a little bit unhinged, maybe hurt my feelings a bit, and here's why. And she'll go, oh, honey, I didn't mean that, and this and this. And if you're not going to say something, maybe if she says them again, then you bring something up, or you just go about your day doing what you're doing and wear what you're wearing. I don't quite have time for another article, but I had a good time spending it with you guys today, and it's about 12:30 here, and I gotta get to work, unfortunately, at 1:15. But today is December 1st, and Merry Christmas month. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. I will see you. Well, actually, I'm going to upload this tonight. It's Thursday, December 1st. So you'll see this tomorrow. You'll see this in less than 12 hours. 11 hours and 34 minutes. So, again, Merry Christmas. Christmas 24 days Eve. You'll see me next on December 9th. You'll see me December 16th. Then you'll see me December 23rd, which is Christmas Eve's Eve. Okay, so what will we be on then? If we are on episode 17, we're on episode 17, 18, 19, so episode 20 will be Christmas Eve's Eve, and then episode 21 will be New Year's Eve's Eve. That's awesome. You'll see me on Christmas Eve's Eve for episode 20. 20 weeks of the podcast. Woo! Let me see. So this is episode 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Off, mother flippin' duck. Let me quite see. So, hold on. Let me see when I started this podcast series. December 2nd, episode 17, 25th, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Episode 1 was August 12th. September, October, November, December. We're almost 4 months into the podcast. Wow. I started from Roofy's podcast Let me see what episode they are on. The Roofies podcast. No, don't play. I don't think it's searched.
Welcome to Riverside.
No.
We found us because
No.
we learned more about podcast.
Let's see the Roofies podcast. There they are. Let's see what episode they are on. They are on episode 6, 3 months ago. They never uploaded again. They deleted episode 1? What? Oh, there it is. So they started... Let's see what people are writing. They started July 12th. I started August 12th. So, a month. So they would be on month 5 coming up in 11 days. Wow. They're on episode 6. I'm on episode 17. So, you've taught me well, guys. I mean, I haven't really done much. I've sat here in this room for how many of them? 6 of them now. I'm in the attic. As you can see, I just turned it off. Look, I'm in an attic. Whoa, look over here. There's the window with the lights. Whoa, I almost just dropped my computer. Welcome back. And that's that. Bye, guys.